Hi scholars! I'm so glad that you're joining me for today's first music lesson of the year. You guys know I am crazy obsessed with music. I love music so much and I love to share it even more with you. So today we are going to be learning about a new musical term. It's very, very important to music. If you don't have this term, then that means that you don't have any music, and that's not good. So we're going to learn about the word melody. Can we say melody with me on 3? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Melody. Good job. So a melody is a very, very important part of music. So whenever we make music, we need to have two things. We need to have our instruments. Remember, that can be your voice, that can be any of the instruments that we learned about in class. You need to have your instrument, and you need to have a melody. And then when you bring those two together, then that creates music. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So if we want to have music, we know that we need instruments. Up here, you just see a few of the instruments that we've talked about before. In class, we've talked about a lot of instruments, and these are probably some of the most popular ones that we know and that we recognize. So in order to have music, we know that we need instruments. Remember, an instrument that you always carry with you is your voice. Sometimes we forget that our voice can be an instrument too, but whenever we sing or use our voice, we're using it just like an instrument. So we need to take care of it just like we would take care of any of the other instruments that we see up on this board. Okay, scholars? Of these, I want you to just turn and tell somebody, maybe what's your favorite instrument that you see up here? Or maybe what's your favorite, not just your favorite, but what's the one that you recognize the most? All right, scholars. So we have a lot of very different instruments up here. We have some instruments with strings in them, like our violin and our guitar. You guys know that the violin is my favorite instrument because I play the violin. I love it so, so much, so that's always going to be my favorite. We also have our piano. We know that pianos are huge. We have some brass and woodwind instruments, and that means that brass and woodwind instruments are pretty loud. So we've got like our trumpet, we have our trombone, we have our saxophone, and they all have that really big bell on the end of them. And that means that all of that noise, all of that energy comes out of that side, and they're really, really loud. And then of course you have your voice that it can be as loud or as quiet as you want it to be. So don't forget, your voice is also an instrument, just like any of these up here. So scholars, the melody, like we talked about, is the most important part of music whenever we make it. So the melody carries the tune of the song. So whenever you hear music on the radio or on your phone or something else like that, whenever you hear it, usually the part that gets stuck in your head, the part that you cannot forget, that's the melody. So the melody is the part that turns all that noise into music. So I want you to repeat after me. Ready? The melody is the main musical part. Good job, scholars. One more time. The melody is the main musical part. Good job, scholars. I want you to turn and tell somebody the melody is the main musical part. You can tell your parents, you can tell your babysitters, you can tell your siblings or your pets. It doesn't matter who you tell, but I want you to turn and tell somebody the melody is the main musical part. Good job, scholars. All right, so now that we know what the melody is, let's listen to just a little bit of music and let's try and decide if it has a melody or not, okay? So what I'm gonna do for you first is I'm just gonna play on my violin, but I'm gonna take out the melody. So I'm gonna take out the part that turns my violin into a music maker, all right? So if I don't have a melody, it's gonna sound something like this. Does that really sound like music yet, scholars? No, I don't really think so either. So that is my violin. That's just kind of making some noise. So even though I'm playing notes, even though I'm going back and forth with my bow, it's not music yet because I'm missing my melody. I'm missing the part that turns all that noise into music. So now let's take my instrument and let's add the melody, okay? So remember, whenever we want to make music, we need our instrument. I got that. And we need our melody. So let's add the melody in so that we can make some music. Ready? Do you guys hear the difference? Yeah, me too. So remember, if we don't have the melody, we don't have any music. We just have noise. Okay, so now let's try listening to some other pieces of music and let's try to decide if we can hear the melody or not. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna listen to is a trombone and some drums. We're gonna listen to a very, very short clip where you have the trombone and the drums and they're gonna be playing at the same time. And I want you to decide which instrument has the melody. Which instrument has the most important part? Which instrument has the part that gets stuck in your head? All right, scholars, let's take a listen. All right, scholars. So I don't know if you guys could hear, but we had the drums and we had our trombone, okay? So what I want you to decide, we're gonna take another listen. So it's okay if you didn't hear it just right, or it's okay if you're not sure yet. We're gonna take one more listen, and I really, really want you to focus, because at the end, I'm gonna ask you, was it the trombone that has the most important part, or is it the drums that has the most important part? You ready? All right, scholars. Let's head back to our PowerPoint. And I want you to pause the video in just a couple of seconds, okay? I want you to turn and tell somebody. Remember, it can be anybody. It can even be your pet if you want it to be. I want you to turn and tell somebody which one had the melody. Was it the trombone or was it the drums? All right, ready? Hit pause and turn and tell in 3, 2, 1. All right, scholars, I hope you had enough time to go tell somebody. And if you said that our trombone was the one with the melody, then you would be correct. So our trombone was the one with the melody because our trombone had the loudest voice and it had the main musical part, right? So that's what's so important about the melody. It's gotta have the main part. It's gotta have the part that kind of sounds like singing. It kind of like gets more stuck in your head, the part that you hear the most, right? And the drums, they were kind of like background. So our drums, they were important, but just not as important as our trombone for this song. Okay, scholars? So we're gonna do one more, and this is what you're gonna return to me today. All right? So we're gonna listen to one more song, just like the last one. And again, you're gonna tell me which instrument had the melody in this next one. Ready? Let's take a listen. All right, scholars. So that was the track that you're gonna be using for the return today, okay? So we're gonna listen to it just a little bit more. You're gonna hear the exact same thing. And remember, there's only 2 instruments in this track. So for your kind of like little piece of homework today, you're gonna tell me which instrument in this track has the melody. Ready? We're gonna listen one more time. scholars? So, remember, for the your turn portion, this is what you're gonna do today, scholars. Tell me, in that song that we just heard, which one has the melody? Okay, you can say something like, the blank carries the melody, and I know this because, and then tell me how you know, okay? You can say something like, I know this because it has the most important part, or I know this because it was the loudest, or I know this because of whatever else you might be thinking of, okay? So make sure that you tell me which instrument it was, and then tell me why. All right, scholars, remember the instrument, or the instrument with the melody is the one with the most important part. All right, so keep that in your head the entire time that you're thinking about this. Remember, scholars, you can turn stuff into Flipgrid or in Google Classroom. Today, if you want to use Google Classroom, you can actually type out your answer to this in the comments, okay? If you're going to use Flipgrid to turn in a video, then make sure that you use the music Flipgrid, okay? It has the exact same code, but you need to push on the part that says music if you want me to see your video, okay? If you put it in the art one, then I'm not going to check it because we're doing music today, okay? All right, don't forget, these are your Flipgrid codes. You're going to follow the exact same steps. Go to flipgrid.com on your Chromebook, put in the code that is for your grade, and then remember, hit the blue button that says join with Google. All right, guys? So don't forget, you can use these sentences to help you out, and I'm really excited to hear your guys' sentences. Don't forget, your melody is the most important part, and if you need to take another listen, just rewind the video. Rewind this video if you want to listen to it over and over and over until you are absolutely sure which one it was. All right, scholars, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.